Hey everybody, this is Josh Cook, aka Seizures Palace, and today we're going to be doing Song of Week number 43. That's awesome because it's drum and bass, and I haven't done drum and bass yet within this series. So you can expect something glitchy, something with a bit of a video game influence, and a kind of cool, mellow intro. Let's check it out. Alright, so let's give a little preview of the song first and the different sections. We have a breakdown part, and I want to throw in a little disclaimer here. I did a little demo beforehand. I always make sure that the video is going to run smooth, and it was a bit glitchy. This is a bigger session than what I normally do for my Song of Weeks, and I very well might release it as a Seizures Palace track, maybe a bonus or something like that. But I just, every week, I'm ever since I bought Serum, I'm just writing a lot better. The synthesis end is just fantastic, and I've been really happy with the results. So it's hard to not want to release this stuff down the line. So this one might end up coming out down the line. Let's give a listen to the different parts. Intro. And that's kind of what's going on there. I don't know if I finished that disclaimer. What I was going to say is it might be a bit glitchy, because when I had done it beforehand, it was glitchy. I think it was because I had too much Serum and Contact open at the time. I can't hear the glitchiness until after, so I'm really hoping it's not glitchy. But the last test I did was good. So, and then I'll show you the transition into the cool stuff. And later some drums. And then the video gamey breakdown comes up over here actually. I just realized I might want to remix the background parts there a little bit to let the lead sing out a bit more. Not that the lead is buried, it just sounds kind of muddy in the back of the mix. Not going to be doing that today. Also, you'll notice, this is just another little disclaimer, is that I lower the master volume by -6 dB because I don't have a compressor on this mic, like a hardware compressor. So this is about as loud as I can get without clipping. And man, someone keeps texting me. It's very distracting. It's as loud as I can get without clipping, so I have to make sure that I match the volume of the track by bringing it down. Yeah. So if you ever see the master at -6, that is why. And then the dreamy version. A little afterthought after an adventure, and you're reflecting back. All right, so I was doing my referencing to Savant's track Invasion. Now that's not fair to listen to it like that because that's going straight through into my audio card, so that hopefully wasn't too loud for you guys, but it's going to be much louder than my track because remember I brought my track down -6 decibels. But even still, when his track is up full volume and so is mine, Savant kicks my ass straight up. He's so good. So definitely trying to get some lessons with that guy. Don't know if it'll ever happen, but I'm not about to stop trying. Let's go through some of the stuff that I have done in this track. I have kick 2. You guys are probably used to seeing that if you've been watching this series for a while. I did some multi-band compression on this. I'll let you just check the settings. Not going to really explain them too much, but yeah, I mean, well, why not? Let's go through. We'll solo the kick. Good amount of reduction on the kick, but nothing to squash it too much. It still has a nice punch, nice little heartbeat. Didn't do too much squashing on the mid-lows. In fact, the attack could be up a little bit. No, that's probably more for synths. Let's keep it where it was just to be safe. Got the mid-highs. And then the highs. And what I do is to set those, I don't know if this is totally standard practice, but it's a pretty good principle. I would just listen to the highs of the entire mix and blend in the bass drum, and then listen to the high mids and the highs, and then blend in the mid highs of the bass drum, and then listen down here, and then bring in the mid lows, and then do the opposite as well too. I would listen just to the sub content, make sure the sub of the kick and the sub of the bass are in good relation to one another. You don't always want them level with one another because you want that kick to have that punch. So I kind of think of it as if here's them both level with one another. I just need to be able to make sure I can see. Good. Yes. Okay. They're level with one another. I kind of put the sub bass down here a little bit, and the kick kind of does that. So the bass is going to come up about this high and the kick a little bit higher up. So that way you get that punch in the club from your kick. Unless you're doing a genre, well, I mean, with drum and bass and dubstep, you might want to have a little bit more sub bass than sub within your kick because you're going to probably sweep that up a bit. But I'm not an expert in those genres, so that's just my approach. And then I would do the same. I would listen to the subs with the mid-lows, subs, mid-lows, mid-highs, and then the entire picture. So hopefully that helps a bit. I'm not going to go through the whole process of actually doing it right now, but that's the idea. Got rid of some unnecessary click up around 4K, swept off a little off the top, threw on a cheap limiter before the compression. That probably wasn't the smartest idea. Anyway, I might go and remix some of this stuff down the line. And then I did a little bit of a filter sweep at 60 hertz. I think I've totally screwed up the order of how I've put these plugins in, to be honest. I think this guy should go first because it's trimming out some unnecessary stuff and the limiter doesn't have to limit that unnecessary stuff. And then same with this, we're trimming the fat, so to speak, and then reorganizing the sound a bit and then limiting. I want to hear how that sounds. That's probably a much better order. If I undo some of that. Oh, it's gone back one too far. I was undoing that. What? Oh, we're back here. It sounds about the same. It actually sounds a bit over compressed, and I think that that's in my mastering. So at this point, I would go in and just double check. No, you know what that is? It's the mid-lows. They just sound saturated. I'm going to explore that later. I won't export the song with the garbagey kick. But anyway, I haven't even got past the kick drum yet. Let's fly through this. So I have a littler kick with some reverb on it, some noise factory, some somatics, and a bunch of hi-hats, and then obviously some beats. This is the more complex version where the hi-hats get a bit more intense. In retrospect, I probably should have put some really light swing on this just to kind of humanize the drums a little bit more, but I didn't, so I'm going to leave it as it is. I used Contact to create a snare loop, and I was doing all the snare rolls and flams and stuff just on the keyboard. So we got... Not so happy with the way it sounds by itself, but in the mix it sounds all right. And the reverb that you're hearing was straight in Contact. I wanted something like sounded like I think it was an exhibition hall. Some glitchy percussion. And what I did was I copied and pasted some of this information from up here, the drums, and then I just kind of reorganized it. You can hear the sort of glitch there is kind of accenting where the hi-hats accent. So those together, there's a part here where it's all together. And then that's just meant to add more glitchiness to the already glitchy nature of the song. Another thing I did was I threw in some brass that you'll hear later, and I took the brass and I just played a shot on, I think, a diminished chord, and then caught the reverb tail and then resampled that into this audio track. And then went down here and hit reverse, which is a classic trick. And I hear Sebastian from France use it a lot, especially to end his songs as a transition into the next song. Yeah, this technique was more popular, I think, kind of like around 2010-ish. I think Justice used it quite a bit too, but I like it. It sounds like this. And so that leads into... There's an alarm. Guess who that is? That's Savant. Okay, anyway. Over here. All right, so let's talk about all those glitchy things. This was so organic. It sounds like it would have taken a super long time to do. This track I wrote in like 2 hours, and then I think I put an extra hour and a half in the following day just with a fresh ear. But it all started with this guy up here. I'm going to get rid of the envelope for a second so you can hear just the regular version. It sounded like this. Oh, shoot. There's actually... Darn it. There's actually some thingamajiggers up here. Come on. You have to do this stupid thing. Delete envelope, same deal. Okay, now we can check it out. So, yeah, that's weird. If you want to mess around with the automation up here, you actually have to sum it up, and then you're able to right-click and do the cut, copy, duplicate, that stuff. Took me forever to realize that. Hopefully that helps you. Here's how it sounds for real this time. So I'm just going do, 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 that sort of idea, just like playing regular notes. And then the sound in Serum, I was taking the rate of the LFO, which was very kind of choppy. So it was going da 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 at times and digga 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 at times, and just literally just turning the knob around and recorded that. Actually, I think what I did technically was I penciled it in this sort of way. Just you can't really see it properly. It's because we're already summed. But anyway, I just kind of dragged around the pencil tool and created a pattern and didn't really know what the pattern was going to be like until after I made it. And then I listened to it and then kind of tweaked the little areas from there. And then you can see I've duplicated it a bunch after that. From there, I duplicated the actual synth sound itself. So then we had... You know what? I'm just going to do this. Let's go. Can I do multiple ones? Let's find out. I can't. It's going to take a little while, but basically I duplicated it and I changed the synth sound just a little bit. I changed a couple parameters and then I duplicated that and then I changed a couple parameters and then I duplicated that and then did the same thing. And then what I did was went back and made sure that the on-off button, the speaker button, was muted and unmuted at different times. So here you can see I have this playing and then it's muted when this plays, and then those are muted when this plays, and then this plays, and there's a bit of overlap sometimes. This guy here was actually a totally different part too. I should show that really quick. Right, so in the mix with the rest of them, actually it's not going to work with the solos because it overrides the automation information, but... Right, so you can see that what I did was I took the entire group of those serums and I also automated the on-off of that group. So now all I really cared about after that is when this guy is playing, this guy is not, and when this one's playing, this one is not. So I still get the randomization during this time of all of these different sounds, if that makes sense. And then when that's not happening, I get these guys down here playing. So it sounds like it took a long time. There's lots of glitching. It sounds really well calculated, but no different than Savant, one of my biggest influences right now. It's all about experimentation and hoping to get one of those happy mistakes, which definitely happened. There's another reverse chord here, which is just the inverse of the smooth keys here. Right, so if I play the two together, and then with the brass, you get this big sweep up, which sounds pretty cool. The brass might be a little bit loud. I'll consider taking that down. And then for the breakdown, a lot of this has been frozen and flattened, by the way. You can see these smooth keys. That was Serum. These were all Serum. Gotta love it. Okay, so over here we have... Same idea. I was taking... Yeah, it was the same idea. It was like an LFO on the volume, and I was just playing around with the rate, randomizing it, and then going in and doing little tweaks afterwards. And then this was just a duplication on a different sound. And I've opened up the filter over time, so you can hear here and here. It gets much brighter over time. Some little organ stabs throughout. And I used Massive. I didn't use Serum there. I like a couple of my organy stab sounds that I created in the past. That was totally random. So I took the massive synth. I duplicated it, and then I took all the same effects and everything, I'm pretty sure. I ended up changing that later, but I brought in Serum with the same thing, but it was a monophonic synth, so it wasn't able to play the chords. So it would choose random notes or whatever one might have been a little bit ahead, although I quantized, so I think it picks the top note at that point. And so it doesn't sound like those big chunky chords, but when you play the two together, it's kind of a bit more randomized. Like that right at the end sounds pretty cool. What's this organ stab? This guy is useless. We don't need that there. Doesn't matter. I'm not going to save this session anyway, I don't think. Well, we'll find out. And then the breakdown. Breakdown. Ooh, I have to tame some of those high frequencies. But I already did. This has been frozen and flattened. There was a big chain of effects before. I had to do this just to make this video. I'm hoping it's not crackling. I'll find out afterwards, but who knows. A light pad and some brass. I think that's like Sforzando piano or something like that, or Sforzando. And then now this was, I used that same bass. Where was it? Here? No, it wasn't these guys. It was one of those. Oh, is it this guy? No, I thought I used it somewhere. Anyway, I'm going crazy right now. Is it this? Yeah, okay, so hold on. Here's what I'm thinking. This was another Serum patch. It's been frozen and flattened, and then a bunch of effects were reapplied afterwards. A good thing to do, by the way, is cut all the effects, freeze it, flatten it, and paste all the effects. So you still have those effects there, and they weren't frozen and flattened into it. Especially if you have a sidechain compressor working on that, you're not even going to be able to freeze it. So cut all that stuff, then you can freeze it, then you can flatten it, and then you can put that back on. Or sidechain the group, not just the individual channel. And then that'll allow you to freeze the individual channels within that group, and the sidechain compression doesn't mess things up for you. So here I had a bass line that I added. Heavily sidechained and brought in a little bit in terms of the width. I don't normally control width this way. I'd rather just kind of go left or right, but that's pure mono. I just wanted to bring it in a little bit because Serum loves to do huge, wide stereo sounds, and there was already enough of them going on in the mix. It made sense to take the bass in and taper it. Then I took those notes, brought them over here, and I chopped the heck out of them. It was really just a big reordering of information that I already had, different clips, different audio bits, and that kind of stuff. So I think I've gone through everything in the mix for the most part. Don't know if you're curious to see the mastering, but I'll show you what I did. And I think I need to remaster this again on a couple different systems. A little bit of a bass boost and swept out at around 30 hertz. Took out some offending frequencies in the mid-lows. I would caution this. It's risky and it can suck some of the life out of the mix, but I was relatively safe about it, and I was happy with my decisions. A little bit of presence here. I could maybe even go a little more extreme with that. I'll explore that later. A little bit of high-end boost and a little bit of a shelf. Is that going down? Oh, no, that's the low-pass filter. There's our shelf there. So I think this area here needs to be a little bit more reworked, and I'm going to work that on my little small mono speaker. I recommend buying one of those, especially one of the ones with the accordion style thing, because it's just fun. Over to dynamics, very light multi-band compression. Again, I really caution this unless you know what you're doing, and even me, I'm still exploring it and learning it, but at some point you got to jump in the deep end and hope that you can swim, right? Some imaging. I'm really watching, this has a name that starts with C. I don't remember what this meter is called, but basically you don't want it to go below 0 often, otherwise it's not going to translate well into mono. So I like to push it so it's getting really close to 0 at times. Just at times it hits that 0. Same there. You can see it's a nice wide mix there. Pretty damn mono when it comes to this low end stuff. You can see it's actually still quite wide. I've had to here it is before it's been widened. That is Serum for you. It's just like the widest bass sound. I don't know how they get away with that translating to big systems, but they do. Steve Duda, you're crazy. And then same here with the high end. It's just approaching that 0, but never really crosses, or if it does, it's not for very long. An exciter, I just used the triode. It was working well for me, so I applied a little bit here, a little bit more here, a little bit more here, and then a maximizer on IRC4, ceiling of negative 0.5 to help for MP3 translation. I think -1 is your best bet if you want it to translate really well to MP3 and SoundCloud. A lot of people say -1 to -3. I go a little bit extra just to play it safe. And then the threshold down at a part that made sense, or point that made sense, and transient emphasis just a little bit to bring out the punchiness of that drum and bass nature. And again, I always have my BX solo. I'm slowly trying to learn how to use Insight. It's very, it's interesting. What bugs me about Ableton, and they have to fix this, and maybe there's a way to do it that I've just never heard of, but I don't think there is. You can't pin something. I would love to take this and pin it on my other monitor that you can't see and just always be able to see what's going on there. Ableton, that has to be easy enough for you guys to do. Do it. Do it up. So the cool thing about this is you can swap in and out with different sort of little gadgets and stuff. You can expand them. There's different presets. So yeah, it's lots of fun, and definitely something that I want to explore a little bit more, but haven't really got too deep into. And then the BX solo, so I can check in mono and stereo. Or side, I should say. Mid and side. It's funny that the M is mid and mono. It works both ways. There's mid. Notice there's not too many lows, and I've actually gone through in some cases and swept out some of the lows on the side content using a mid-side EQ. And you can do that by switching it from stereo, which is the usual, over to MS, which is mid-side. Got rid of a lot of the low-end content on the sides. Woo! Got an itch. Okay, so I'm going to show you what it sounds like if I play it. Just side content. Add this back in. This is a bad example, actually. Let's go with... You know what? I actually didn't do it on this particular bass sound, but let's go back for a sec. Hear that low end? It's kind of coming in randomly, so... There's a little bit of muddiness, a little bit of low mid, but enough that it'll still keep warm on the sides. So that's something that you can do, is just listen to side content, put a mid-side EQ on whatever it is that you're trying to sweep out some of that muddiness out on the sides of. And then, yeah, you'll be able to kind of hear things a little bit easier in terms of what's isolated within that side content. Anyway, it's been a little while that I've been doing this video now. I think I've got through everything. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm definitely going to post it real soon. Why did I say that? You guys are going to get to see it as soon as I post this video, of course. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I had fun. I hope you had fun. I hope you picked up some tips. Tell your friends, tell your parents, tell anyone that might be interested in this video series. I'd love some new subscribers and to be able to help some beginner to intermediate producers figure their stuff out. Maybe even a couple people that are higher than intermediate might get like a tip or two. That could be cool too. Anyway, I'm done for today. Next week is song week number 44. I'm out. Peace.